Hello and welcome to Parliament News. I'm Gautam Roy and let's begin with the updates that have come in from the lower house. Well, a number of bills were introduced in the Lok Sabha today before taking up of a discussion on the demand for grants of the Railways Ministry. With the objective of giving a proper interpretation of a Supreme Court ruling, the government introduced a bill that seeks to define certain role and powers of the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi. Minister of State for Home Affairs G. Kishan Reddy introduced the Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Amendment Bill 2021. Mines Minister Prahlad Joshi introduced a bill to amend the Mines and Mineral Development and Regulation Act 1957. The amendments are aimed at bringing mega reforms in the mines sector with resolution of legacy issues and making a large number of mines available for auction. It will help strengthen the auction-only regime and boost transparency in the system. Shashi Tharoor of the Congress opposed the bill, saying it fails to acknowledge the adverse impact on environment and biodiversity. He said it's a threat to the lives of the people residing close to the mines. Responding to this, Prahlad Joshi said the regulation of mines and mineral development are under the control of the centre. A bill to amend the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act 2015, which seeks to enhance the role of district magistrates and additional district magistrates, was also introduced in the Lok Sabha. Shashi Tharoor opposed the bill at the introduction stage, but Women and Child Development Minister Smriti Irani rejected the points raised by him. Initiating the discussion on the demand for grants of the railways, Ram Kripal Yadav of the BJP asserted that the Indian Railways has rendered human service during the coronavirus pandemic by transporting 43 lakh migrant labourers, distributing 2 crore free food packets and making available several hundred rail coaches to be used as healthcare centres. Ram Kripal Yadav said 513 projects worth 1.83 lakh crore rupees have been completed during the National Democratic Alliance regime. Congress member Ravneet Singh said migrant labourers and the poor suffered during the coronavirus-induced lockdown. They did not get the benefits they should have got. And replying to this, Anurag Thakur, who is the Minister of State in the Finance Ministry, said during the lockdown, migrant labourers faced hardships while returning home and listed the steps taken by the government to provide relief to the migrant workers during the lockdown. The minister said there were instances where someone donated their entire pension amount to PM CARES Fund. He said even those who got wages through MNREGA scheme also donated money to the PM CARES Fund just to help others. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar said India is fully cognizant of the employment concerns of the people working abroad and expects governments in the Gulf to be helpful in facilitating the early return of those compelled to return home due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Making a statement in the Lok Sabha on the recent developments pertaining to the welfare of Indians abroad, NRIs and PIOs, the minister said the focus of the government's efforts in the last few months has now shifted to Indians going back to their usual places of work, study and domicile. He said air transport bubble arrangements have been concluded with 27 countries so far in this regard. He said the government is fully cognizant of the employment concerns that Indians abroad have in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. Especially in the Gulf, there has been tremendous economic and social disruption that has impacted them, the minister said. He assured the House that the government will take up this issue on a priority basis. The External Affairs Minister also said the government has led the way for an economic recovery at home and similar untiring efforts are being made to help renew livelihoods of Indians abroad. The minister said air travel arrangements are a necessary enabling measure. But beyond that, the government has been active in urging the foreign governments to look sympathetically at the employment of Indian citizens as they chart their own recovery path. Dr. Jaishankar said the Gulf has been the focal point of our endeavours, though this is a global effort on our part. In recent months, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has engaged with the leaders of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar and Oman, while External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar himself has travelled to the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain and Oman to discuss the welfare of Indians there. The minister said that he has recently hosted the UAE Foreign Minister in India and expected to do so with that of Kuwait very soon as well. He said during his recent interactions, New Delhi has a reason to expect that partner governments in the Gulf would be helpful in facilitating the early return of many who were compelled to go back because of the pandemic. He said the support extended from India for the stay and travel of Indian citizens was warmly acknowledged by the community and the governments alike. The provision of medical supplies and food items from India as an exceptional gesture to the Gulf during this period clearly had powerful resonance. so that the arrival of health professionals and medical staff, especially the dedicated medical team India sent to Kuwait. The minister said ambassadors and senior officials have been in regular touch with most community organizations and in getting their feedback on both the health situation and economic recovery. He said the government is aware that there are problems of compensation, re-employment and reskilling that need solutions. And these are today the core of New Delhi's agenda with its partner governments. He said the welfare of students abroad has also been of particular concern, and embassies across the world have been given instructions to reach out to them, monitor their situation and assist their return. The External Affairs Minister further said the focus has now shifted to their going back to universities. Some countries have been more open in this regard than others, obviously reflecting their particular COVID challenge. This therefore remains a high priority, and our endeavour will be to encourage an early return to normalcy. The minister also said under air transport bubbles, which are temporary reciprocal arrangements for commercial passenger services until the resumption of regular international flights, the Air India Group alone has operated more than 9,500 flights, taking 10.9 lakh passengers abroad so far. The largest numbers have gone to the Gulf. Recalling the predicament of two crews who were in particular difficulty outside Chinese ports, the minister said the situation was eventually resolved through great perseverance. The minister said New Delhi will continue to interact with many governments to devise more friendly SOPs for crew change requirements. He said serious problems were faced by fishermen who were working out of Iran. Some Gulf nations also witnessed this, perhaps to a lesser degree. With technological changes taking place at a fast pace in marine navigation, a bill was introduced in the Lok Sabha today to replace an over 9-decade-old law governing lighthouses. The Marine Aids to Navigation Bill 2021 seeks to provide for a fresh framework to establish and manage vessel traffic services, besides use of the term marine aids to navigation instead of lighthouse, to enable further use of modern forms of aids to navigation. The bill, moved by Ports, Shipping and Waterways Minister Mansukh Mandavia, also seeks to rename the existing Director General of Lighthouse and Lightships to provide a framework for establishment, operation and management of vessel traffic services. The bill aims to repeal the Colonial Lighthouse Act 1927 and provides for empowering the Director General of Lighthouses and Lightships with additional powers and functions. It proposes to incorporate the global best practices, technological developments and India's international obligations in the field of marine navigation. Union Chemicals and Fertilizers Minister Devi Sadanan Gowda today introduced a bill in the Lok Sabha that seeks to provide the national importance tag to 6 pharmaceutical education and research institutes in the country. The National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research Amendment Bill 2021 provides for granting the status of national importance to 6 institutes in Ahmedabad, Guwahati, Hajipur, Hyderabad, Kolkata and Raebareli. Lok Sabha member E.T. Mohammad Bashir expressed concern on Monday over certain railway services being handed over to private players, saying it was a very dangerous move and the government should not do so. He was participating in a discussion in the Lok Sabha on demands for grants for the railways for 2021-22. The discussion on the matter ended on Monday with Bhartrihari Mahtab, who was in the chair, adjourning the House and saying that Railways Minister Piyush Goyal will reply to the debate on Tuesday. Let's now get you updates from the Upper House as well, where the Rajya Sabha on Monday resumed normal functioning for the first time during the second part of the budget session. There was no significant business during all of last week as opposition members created uproar, leading to disruptions and adjournments. The House saw the passage of the National Institutes of Food Technology, Entrepreneurship and Management Bill 2019 by voice vote. The bill declares National Institute of Food Technology, Entrepreneurship and Management in Kundli and the Indian Institute of Food Processing Technology in Thanjavur as National Institutes of Food Technology, Entrepreneurship and Management. Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar, while replying to the discussion on the bill, said all policies of national importance would be implemented in these institutions and reservation would be applicable in these institutes as well. He was clarifying doubts by some members on the implementation of reservation policy in these institutes. The Upper House also saw a debate on the working of the Ministry of Jal Shakti, where members raised various issues relating to water and irrigation in their respective areas. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar also made a statement in the House on recent developments pertaining to the welfare of non-resident Indians and persons of Indian origin. He said the government was in touch with the Gulf countries and expected them to be helpful in facilitating early return of Indians to work who were compelled to quit jobs on account of COVID-19 pandemic. The minister said India is fully cognizant of the plight of Indian workers and students abroad on account of COVID-19 pandemic and has repatriated 45.82 lakh people from 98 countries under the Vande Bharat mission till date. He said re-employment concerns of people working abroad will be addressed by the government and that it is working to improve economic growth and create job opportunities. Dr. Jaishankar said the focus of the government's efforts in the last few months has now shifted to Indians returning to their usual places of work, study and domicile, and air transport bubble arrangements have been concluded with 27 countries so far. He hoped a good economic recovery would result in job opportunities. The minister said in situations where people will either not return or have delays in going back, the government has started a skills mapping program especially for workers coming back from the Gulf. In recent months, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has engaged with leaders of Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar and Oman, while Dr. Jaishankar himself has travelled to the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain and Oman to discuss with the governments there about the welfare of the people of Indian origin there. Now, from our recent interactions, said the minister, we have reason to expect that partner governments in the Gulf would be helpful in facilitating the early return of many who were compelled to go back because of the pandemic. Welfare of students abroad has also been of particular concern, and embassies across the world have been given instructions to reach out to them, monitor their situation and assist their return where required, he stressed. He said it would be ensured that they do not lose an academic year. Earlier during Zero Hour, the minister assured members that India will take up with the UK, when required, an alleged incident of racism in Britain. Responding to concerns raised by a BJP MP over racism and cyber-bullying that forced an Indian origin student to resign as president of the Oxford University Students' Union, the minister said the government has strong ties with the UK and will take up such matters with great candour when required. He said, as a land of Mahatma Gandhi, we can never ever turn our eyes away from racism, wherever that is. BJP's Ashwini Vaishnav said she was cyberbullied and her parents' Hindu religious beliefs were publicly attacked by a faculty member. Responding to the member, Dr. Jaishankar said, we will monitor these developments very, very closely. We will raise it when required and we will always champion the fight against racism and other forms of intolerance, he added. Now, during the day, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman also introduced a bill to allow 74% FDI in the insurance sector. The Union Cabinet on Wednesday had given its nod for amendments in the Insurance Amendment Bill 2021 that seeks to amend the Insurance Act 1938. The permissible FDI limit in life and general insurance currently stands at 49%, with ownership and management control lying with Indians. Members completed the discussion on the working of Ministry of Jal Shakti as well. Jal Shakti Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat would reply on Tuesday. Participating in the discussion, Congress member Digvijay Singh accused the Ministry of not utilizing funds and flagging the recommendations of the Standing Committee in this regard. He questioned the government over its promise of providing piped water to each household by 2024. Gopal Narayan Singh of the BJP defended the government and said it's working to provide potable water to each village. He said the river Ganga will also become clean in another 3 to 4 years. M. Shanmugam of the DMK raised the issue of Kaveri water distribution and alleged that Tamil Nadu is suffering because the state is not being given adequate water from Kaveri river basin. Subhash Chandra Bose of the YSRCP urged the central government to support Andhra Pradesh government and provide them adequate funds for water augmentation. RCP Singh of the JDU raised the issue of flooding and said every year infrastructure and crops are destroyed in North Bihar. He urged the centre to provide additional funds of 30 to 40,000 crore rupees till an arrangement in Nepal on building a dam is not finalized. Sukhram Singh Yadav of the SP said if huge funds are allocated for drinking water augmentation and they are utilized properly, all problems would be solved. Manoj Kumar Jha of the RJD demanded a separate policy for big industries using groundwater. Banda Prakash of the TRS said 52% of people in the field of agriculture are dependent on rainwater. He asked the government to make clear what is it doing to augment irrigation facilities for every farmer. Subhash Chandra Singh of the BJD said waterlogging is a big problem in urban areas. Kanta Kardam of the BJP raised the plight of women who have to walk long distances to fetch water. Harshvardhan Singh Dungarpur of the BJP said the PM's special focus is to bring tapped water to every household. Praful Patel of the NCP raised the river interlinking project and asked whether the government has forgotten about it. K. Ramindra Kumar of the TDP raised the issue of Polavaram project, saying it is moving at a very slow pace after the new government took over in the state. This delay has led to cost escalation of the project, he said, urging the government to expedite the project. Earlier, during Zero Hour, Shiv Sena member Priyanka Chaturvedi raised the issue of press freedom. Sashmit Patra of the BJD demanded that athletes participating in the 2021 Olympics and their support staff be vaccinated against COVID-19. Vandana Chavan of the NCP demanded that marital rape be made a criminal offence, while noting that incidents of marital rape rose during the lockdown. While Ashok Bajpai of the BJP wanted Awadhi language to be included in the 8th schedule, Tirju Siva of the DMK wanted stories about unsung women warriors of India's freedom struggle to be included in the CBSE school syllabus. Phulo Devi Netam of the Congress wanted the duration for which central parliamentary personnel can continue to hold a government accommodation in the national capital despite being posted out be doubled to 6 years and penalties levied for exceeding the stay be waived. Prashant Nanda of the BJD wanted classical status to Odissi music, while Sanjoba Lishamba of the BJP wanted a special task force to be set up to protect archaeologically important sites in his home state of Manipur from encroachment and vandalism. Nominated member Narendra Jadhav suggested categorizing teachers as frontline workers for COVID-19 inoculation and use of mobile ambulance services to vaccinate senior citizens who are bedridden. Raising the issue through a special mention, Jadhav said, as the vaccination drive progresses and society returns to normalcy, the next challenge is to overcome the loss of learning during the pandemic. Earlier, Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu informed the House that President of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, Duarte Pacheco, was seated in a special box witnessing the proceedings. And to quote him, on behalf of the members of the House and on my own behalf, I take pleasure in extending a hearty welcome to him and wish our distinguished guest an enjoyable and fruitful stay in our country. We hope that during his stay here, he would be happy to witness our parliamentary system and know more about our country and our people. Through him, we convey our greetings and best wishes to the IPU Secretariat and its member countries. That's what the chairman said. And that brings us to the end of Parliament News. Have a good night.